You know, we've done hot mics before
Yeah.
without realizing they were hot
I
mics.
think so.
I don't think we offended anybody other than each other.
No, we didn't offend anybody. We never do that.
Well, each other regularly, don't we?
Lately.
That's awesome. All right. Nah.
It's
It's all family, right? It's all good. It's all good. Hey, thanks for being here, by the way. And we got, just so you know, April said to me earlier, 263.
Oh, she did.
She did say that.
Okay.
Wow. Holy
Sweet.
cow. Full spectrum, broad spectrum, distillate, and isolate.
All right. That's what we're going to talk about today.
FSD, BSD, isolate.
Okay.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who want this. Lots of questions on this. Thank you for being here. If you get locked up for whatever reason, hit the red button on the top to rejoin. It doesn't kick you out. It doesn't do anything. That's what I love about this. Ask questions, bring them. There will be a replay. There's lots of resources, no holds barred. Tell us who you are, introduce yourself, tell us what you do, where you are in the process, farmer, processor, chemist, engineer, just user, whatever wherever you are, investor. End user. Isn't everybody an end user?
Sure.
Of something?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes. Oh, hey, by the way, Louis Cedille. Cedille?
Yeah, Cedille.
From Commerce, California.
All right.
Is there such a thing as Commerce, California?
Yeah, there is.
Commerce. Oh, Jared said he looked it up. There's Commerce, California. He won a whole swag bag, including a hat and a shirt.
Sweet.
And you know how he got it?
He registered.
No,
he entered.
He chatted with our bot.
Oh, sweet.
With our bot.
Okay.
Our bot picked him.
Awesome.
Woohoo! Okay, so talk to the bot. The bot is really cool. And he is on fire. He talks to me like all night. Hey, somebody wants to talk to you from Turkey. Somebody wants to talk to you from Switzerland. Hey, somebody wants to talk to you from Asia.
It dings all the time.
It does ding all the time. So thank you for your questions. This is what we run, and engage with not only the bot at the bottom of our extractlab.com site with a K, by the way, on the site at the bottom. We still have to name him.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Did we change the icon? I think we changed the icon on that.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. So, yeah, I think if you look at it, we no longer have the little bot guy.
Oh, it doesn't.
It has like a little.
See, I engage via real technology, the way you guys engage as well. So I didn't see that there. It doesn't give me the new little thing. Okay. No. All right. Anyway, thank you for being here today. Lots of things. So bring in the questions. Don't forget to check out the live tour, our CBD jam sessions. They are filling up. We're having to add resources for that. Actually, there's a lot coming. So we're getting to you as quickly as we can with those CBD jam sessions. You can just go online and, they're 15, 20 minutes. Some go extensive or we add additional ones. So, we're here to help you succeed. Advanced extraction guide, distillation guide, which is another thing. Calculator libraries. The calculators are getting, you guys are burning it up.
They are.
Calculators are all over the map.
Yeah.
They're huge. And a lot more mini courses on the way. So really good. And a little shout out to James, who came here today. He's a little sleep deprived, had a baby. So but it's exciting. It's a warm glow sleep deprivation.
Yeah. Congratulations, James.
Woo. Okay. So that's cool. All right, let's get in because I know you have like a 72 slide presentation.
It's at least, it only takes 5 minutes.
Where's my sound effects?
Okay, no sound effects for you.
Right. Okay, good. So I'm gonna let's go.
All right, let's do it.
This is really cool stuff.
Let's do it.
So what I know you're going to jump into the presentation,
right?
But can you do just a little primer of full, broad isolate?
Sure. Okay, so here we got a lot of people use CBD in different forms to create their formulations. Okay, these include a crude. They include include distillates typically.
It's hard to say that 5 times really fast.
They
isn't it?
include isolates and broad spectrum.
Okay.
And then there's also a category that's kind of up and coming, which we've been doing for a long time. And that's engineered, completely engineered, where you take, you break up all the components and then put them back together.
So it would be an engineered formulation.
Engineered formulation, yeah. Right.
Cool.
Some people
can do
use
it at
winterized
home.
oils, for
right?
example, also for tinctures and things like that. So, we're going to just talk about, some of the benefits of each of those and differences and things like that. So
I sense that there's tasting coming.
yeah, we're going to make you taste various kinds. And then we're also going to talk about the entourage effect. And my big jar of terpenes, I don't know where that went to.
What?
It was in the refrigerator.
I had nothing to do with it. I promise. Nothing. It wasn't me.
All right. So we'll get it. They must
think
be
it was
using
April.
it for stuff. So, but we're going to demonstrate the entourage effect using beer.
Okay.
And so it should be pretty good. And
Do
then
we have
I'll
a
go into
disco
some of
ball?
the- that's out back. Yeah,
Okay.
we got that out back.
We
So.
have that. That would be another thing. Disco entourage effect.
Okay,
baby.
let's
Right?
get going. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and tune this thing up here.
Tune it up.
There it is. We're gonna share the slides.
Oh, here it comes.
Here.
Here we go.
Oh,
Wow,
you're on cue today. I feel a little depressed today.
What?
Yeah. Just maybe I haven't had enough coffee.
Oh,
That's
I
probably-
doubt that. I doubt that.
All right, here we go. Let's try this out. All right.
Hey, this is a cool slide.
Oh yeah, that's kind of all of our brands there, along with our United Science. So those are the here are all the brands that are under United Science. We got Pure 99, we got Clear Still, Fractron, Carbon-X, Extract Lab, which is our series of most well known for a series of extractors, of course, and then there's me. Here's the bulk products that you can get from hemp. So a lot of people ask us, for example, what can I get from hemp in terms of the products? Okay, you can sell flour, okay, and you can grind up the flour also and sell it as a blend. A lot of times people will get flour if you're doing CBD flour. A lot of times it will have an elevated concentration of THC. So people like to blend it to get the amount down to less than 0.3%.
When we were in the R&D lab,
right,
we used a little bit of that. And
we
made
did.
our own brew.
We did. Yeah, that was good.
Woo!
That was good. And then you drank it. We made that with Everclear. So we made a Rick Simpson oil.
We really did.
And he drank the whole thing.
It was quite an afternoon.
And then we got ground material. Okay. And the ground material is blended flour typically. And the reason you would do that is to get it so it's less than 0.3%. So a lot of people do that. Sometimes also they add in, like terpenes for infusion and things along those lines. So that's how that is. And then you have raffinate. Some people sell raffinate, for various fiber purposes. A lot of times, it's not the raffinate that you would get from, say, an extraction is actually quite small in terms of the length of the fiber. So a lot of people don't use raffinate for those purposes. And then natural terpenes, obviously, that's where you get the natural terpenes that occur that you get out of the plant. If you use our process, obviously you can get those natural terpenes out by the bucket load. And then you have the crude oil, you have winterized oil, you have distillate, isolate, and then what's missing on the slide, because this is an old slide, is the broad spectrum, and then the engineered, basically broad spectrum and formulations.
Gotcha.
So that's typically the bulk products that you get from hemp. So you can see it's if you have an extraction facility, you can sell each and every one of those as a bulk product. So that's why it's so attractive to a lot of people. They want to, the first two, obviously with flour and blended flour, you don't really need to have, an extraction. But as soon as you want to get into raffinate or natural terpenes or CBD crude oil or any of the oils or any of the other isolates,
sure,
then you need to have those things. So
absolutely.
Next slide here. So I think this is a kind of a spectrum of the products that you may get from starting, over here at the flour and going over all the way over to the right-hand side, which is the isolate. And a lot of people like this picture because it really shows the, how the progression, I guess. Here you have flour on the left-hand side, and then it goes to, some ground up flour. And then on the next one slide, that's a decarbed flour. So that's where you're, molecularly, decarboxylating the material. And in that process is where you can also get all your terpenes. And then there's your crude oil in the middle. And then as you go to the right here, this would be more like a winterized crude oil. That's with all the waxes taken out. And then here's some distillate right here. And you can see it's starting to crash out, and it's also starting to, crystallize. And then here's the actual crystals. So that's the basic process that you're looking at. This is a picture of the plant. And those little white things are called trichromes. And usually they're all over the flower. You can see them in high density on the flower itself. You don't really see a lot of trichromes, for example, on the stems and on the fan leaves. And so the big deal there is that a lot of people want to, use the fan leaves or use the stem or use the root balls or whatever. You may find some very minor cannabinoids at an extremely low level in those parts of the plant, but they're not in any high concentration. Gotcha. So, and you can see in these little white, they look like mushrooms almost. Those are where the CBD is. So a lot of people will try to, basically put this under very cold temperatures like liquid nitrogen or CO2, dry ice, and actually break those off.
Oh.
And some people do that, try to get it out rather than extracting.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that would be another option. So this is really the biomass composition. Typically, these numbers, they move around considerably depending on where you're getting them and depending on the concentrations of cannabinoids, for example. But this is just for illustration purposes. If you look at the weight per weight percent of each of the items, you got your biomass. Typically, you'll have water anywhere from 5 to 15%. And of course, your numbers here will change as your water amount changes. You have other components. These are basically the phytonutrients that are in the materials, and then you have the waxes and the cannabinoids and the terpenes. So that's the biomass composition. As we go through the hemp processing side of this, we start off with the receiving, and then we go into quarantine. We go into grinding, of course, the extraction, the dewaxing, distillation. This distillation step is pretty important because that's where that's your feedstock for isolate. That's also your feedstock for broad spectrum. And that would also be the feedstock for, the other things that you would use for formulations. So here's where you formulate, and then you go into your packaging. So this is kind of the processing and where you get the products out. That is a nice looking picture of some crude oil. You can see it almost looks sticky. That's because it is. And it's also brightly yellow. So this is the stuff that comes right out of the spigot, really, in your extractor. And if you put it in a jar right away and you just close it, it'll stay yellow.
Really?
Yeah. But and also you have to just put just basically protect it from light. Okay. Put it in the
it's not
refrigerator.
oxygen, it's more light.
It's light and oxygen, both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so, but more so light, I think. But yeah, so you just put it in there, and otherwise it'll turn, like a darker amber color, obviously. And this would be like a supercritical CO2 style of a oil. You can also, it'll be more soupy and a little bit more light, more terpene. If you're doing like subcritical runs. Gotcha. So that's the difference there. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to go on to the next one. This is an example of, say, a collection that occur. You can see it's kind of soupy coming out, where it's almost actually runny. Yep. And it's nice and bright yellow. Couple different things here. Typically, if you have like older material or material that has kind of sat around for a while, a lot of times the chlorophylls get broken down in the plant and then you extract it. Those oils are typically more yellow.
Really?
As opposed to like super fresh material, typically those will extract and they're more amber color.
Gotcha.
So that could be, this here could also be a function of, the age of the material. Also, on our machine, we have 3 different fractions. We have a first fraction, a second fraction, a third fraction. Typically, the first fraction has a lot of the carotenoids that will basically precipitate out in that first one. So that'll be a little bit of a darker amber than the final fraction, which is a more light yellow. So that's that. And here's the crude composition again. This will change up depending on the amount of terpenes that are left in the biomass material, and also depends on this here number depends on the pressure. Gotcha. And the time. So you got a bunch of different variables here, so they will vary, but on average for your crude, you're looking at 60 to 70%. Okay, with a certain amount of waxes in there. You can decrease the waxes by going to a lower pressure. And also on this one right here, if you're using a co-solvent like ethanol, for example, some people use co-solvents. They use like a food grade ethanol in the flow, like a 1 to 5% or something like that. This will be very, very soupy. And also, it will be about that color, but it'll be very soupy. So if you use that, co-solvent, there'll also be ethanol in here. So that would be
the
one thing you need to think about.
Level at 3% that you have here.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the same if you remove the terpenes at decarb? Right.
So you're removing a lot of those lower boiling terpenes, and then the higher boiling terpenes, stay in there, but they're still terpenes.
Gotcha.
So you're getting out, but they are, they
Sure.
co-extract then. So
Gotcha.
you're getting a portion of the terpenes out with the extraction, and then you're getting the terpenes that are mostly, responsible for the flavor and aroma and things like that. You're getting that out, in that vacuum distillation.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Let me see here. So then, here's in a picture of
Purdy.
Some of the, distillate. James took these pictures. That's why we love that picture. Good job, James. And you notice how he put the light behind it. So he took it in front of the window. There's a whole technique on what you would do to basically, take a good picture of distillate. So you want the light to be shining from the back so you can see it nice bright yellow.
Absolutely.
It really looks
and
nice.
You want to warm it up too, right?
It has to be warm, because the distillate itself is so potent that it's going to, typically for CBD, it will precipitate out and it'll be opaque. So
gotcha.
You have to heat it up. So, if you want to take CBD distillate, roll up pictures like that, those are some of the tricks of the trade. Make sure it's backlit, make sure it's warm, things like that. So
awesome.
Make sure you have the correct exposure with your camera and things like that. So, here's the distillate composition. Here you can see that's different than the crude because you're increasing the amount of cannabinoids in the distillate. And you're doing that by, removing the other part of the biomass. You're removing a part of the, plant. So the, all the phytonutrients, I guess, if you will, it's removing the terpenes. This terpene level actually can be even less than 2%. But, typically the terpenes that come out with the cannabinoids are like long chain terpenes.
Gotcha.
So they co-distill. There's a very small amount, but you really can't smell them in there, but they're still in there. And then you have like other stuff that co-distills there. And when I use the word stuff, that's a highly technical term for
what's a term I understand.
All that other
stuff.
It's the plant matter. Okay. What is it? It's thousands of compounds.
And I appreciate you speaking my language.
Okay, there we are. So and then of course there's broad spectrum. Just kind of flying through these, so then we can start a conversation. Here's let me see here.
I like that. That looked like there was a straw in that one.
Oh, let me see. Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
it's a
no,
spoon.
that's a spoon there. Look at how nice it's got. A nice, that's a nice color. That's
Yeah.
just beautiful.
Nice.
I think that this is broad spectrum stuff. And then here's a picture of isolate. So yeah, typically when you make isolate, you're going to have to, grind it up. If you don't grind it up, so you want to, when you make your isolate, it's really important that you keep your particle size as small as possible. That's a key aspect of isolate production. And then, obviously you're going to want to make sure it's ground up and then you wash it. So a couple different steps there, but typically your isolate composition, it's very easy to get like 99% pure. Okay. But you're losing all the other plant materials, the plant composition, you're losing it.
Terpenes gone.
Terpenes are gone,
biomass
water's gone. You maybe have some other stuff in there that you don't really know what it is. It could, that other 1% could be other cannabinoids that co-precipitate out with the CBD. Now I am speaking primarily to CBD here, but THC also, if you're making THC isolate, you can actually do that, in your system with a cold finger, in your extraction system. The recoveries are not so great with that, so you have to have different. Different forms will precipitate out. So typically, a decarboxylated THC will not precipitate, whereas a decarboxylated CBD will precipitate.
Wow.
Okay, so it's kind of there's some technical things we can go over, those things in a later program. But I think that when you're looking at isolate, you're typically looking at cannabinoids that are greater than 99%. It looks like a white powder. It's pretty cool. So so that's that. Here's a picture of
a ball jar.
Yeah, with some broad spectrum.
Yeah.
And here's the broad spectrum composition. With the broad spectrum, typically you'll get some terpenes in there, you'll get some cannabinoids in there, but your THC will be out of it. Okay, so that's the main difference between like a broad spectrum and a full spectrum.
So really, the main difference. Okay, so full spectrum is everything you get from all the cannabinoids. You've got terpenes in there, and you have THC.
Right. Yeah. And typically it's considered to be less than 0.3%.
Less than 0.3%
CBD.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, but broad spectrum is all of that without the THC. So if for a layman, you're looking at full spectrum includes cannabinoids, terpenes, and THC at 0.3% or below.
Right.
And broad spectrum is the same, but without the THC.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
I get it.
I think I have. Here, let me pull this down. Oh, you mean this?
Oh,
there's a table.
Oh,
of course.
Of course.
Of course. There'll always be a table.
Thinking. Okay. I jumped ahead, Teach.
All right. Well, I find tables to be nice because you can, kind of,
you can eat on them.
Compare.
You can eat on them.
Yeah,
you can set drinks on them.
It's true. Okay, I think it's time that we.
Oh no.
that we try some of these. So
he wants to calm me down, I think.
Okay, so here's a comparison. Okay, so here you have full spectrum, broad spectrum, full spectrum, and then full spectrum THC. There's a difference between CBD and THC, and then engineered. Okay. So with a full spectrum CBD, you typically have less than 0.3%, but there's still THC in there. Their terpenes are limited, okay, but they would still have terpenes in there, trace terpenes basically, and you will be able to taste them if you taste them. There's other plant components that are present, unlike, for example, like an isolate, which wouldn't have a lot of those other plant components. The CBD amount is really defined by the plant, and the other cannabinoids are defined by the plant. So if you have a CBD 50-50 plant in the biomass, that's kind of what you're going to be getting in your full spectrum.
Oh,
yeah. And the same, good.
CBG is really hot right now.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think a lot of people are growing it, and so next, this coming season, everybody's going to have a CBG product for sure.
Well, and the research is getting better because most of the research has been done on CBD and THC and terpenes, right?
Right.
And then Now they're really growing. Now you're hearing a lot more about CBG because we're
Yep.
learning more about it.
Right.
Then we're learning more about CBDA and CBN, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. Now, I think broad spectrum is where you're really taking out that THC. There's a difference between THC free and THC non-detect. And the difference there is one has no detectable THC with the detector you're using, which is typically an HPLC UV. And then the THC free is also a non-detectable THC that you can't see with the detector that's using. So what's the difference?
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of people are using the word THC non-detect these days because the FDA doesn't want them to use THC free. Because you can always,
because it is not necessarily free of
right,
THC.
right. You can always see, a couple, whatever. What's the limit of detection in mass spec? It's a very sensitive detector, right? So they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, well, we can see 10 molecules, so therefore it's not THC free.
Yes.
So that's why people want to use the word THC non-detect, which is also kind of weird because you'd have to really define which detector you're using. Okay.
Right.
So I don't know.
So if I start tasting and sampling some of this, will I be able to detect that with my naked eye?
No, with your naked tongue. We're gonna make you. We're gonna make you.
Just checking.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Oh,
Full spectrum THC, no spec on the THC at all. You can have as much THC as you want. There's also limited terpenes.
What is a typical in full spectrum THC non-spec? What would be an average? Or is there not an average? Is it 6%? Is it 9%? Is it?
You mean with the
12%?
full spectrum THC?
Yeah.
Oh,
what would be a range?
80%.
Really?
THC? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Woo.
That's for like marijuana, type of an extract.
80% is a lot of THC.
Yeah. 80, 90% even for like a distillate.
I would be on
Again,
my ass.
it's limited in the terpenes. There's other plant components that are in there. But a lot of times, what the definitions have been kind of evolving because you have people wanting to have they say I want a full spectrum with 3% CBG, 6% CBN, and 60% CBD. And no terpenes, but less than 0.3% THC. Now, that really is an engineered type
sounds like a custom formulation.
That is
to
a
me.
custom formulation.
I'm a layman, but that sounds custom to me.
Yeah, so that's why I got this other thing over here that says engineered. Because a lot of people want to pay full spectrum price, but they're asking for engineered stuff.
And how do you do that with syringes and?
No. Basically, you get
stuff,
CBD isolate, or you get CBD broad spectrum. You get CBG isolate or CBG broad spectrum, THC isolate or THC broad spectrum, and then you'd put them together in the ratios that they wanted, along with the terpenes, pure terpenes, and it's a formulations exercise, and that can actually be done, no problem.
Okay, and you can do that. Can people do that manually? Is it?
Yeah, it would be done manually. So
Okay.
you're just starting from your isolates and you're putting it together.
Okay.
So that would be the main difference. And so I think that a lot of people, I think that that's where the market's going.
Yes.
Because you have, here I have a jar of matrix. Here I have a jar of my purified terpenes. I have a jar of purified CBG. I have a jar of purified CBN, and then I put them together in the ratios that I want. Yeah. So there's also I forget the number of cannabinoids, but there's quite a few of them. I should know it off the top of my head.
120.
Was there 120?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, good that you know. I think that's jeez.
There's
I'm so gullible.
No. Actually, I was doing
really?
some research because I knew there would be tables.
All right.
And probably a test. So I did see 120. Now I may be wrong. Hey, if you know, let me know.
Yeah. We got to put it in on the notes. So let me see. Oh, we got a whole bunch of comments and questions.
I know we've been
that's all right.
Focused on the table.
So yeah, I think that there's been some confusion over full spectrum CBD and engineered spectrum, where a lot of customers, if you are in the bulk business, where they want to impose an engineered formulation and say it's full spectrum because it's a lot less money, actually. So just make sure that you have your definitions proper, and that you're quoting the right, obviously an engineered formulation is going to be more expensive than a full spectrum formulation.
Gotcha.
So, and then a broad spectrum, you use chromatography or solvent techniques to get to a broad spectrum. What that means is basically you're taking some of that distillate and you're removing the THC, and they call that THC remediation, or THC removal would be another word. But that's where you get the THC non-detect. So that's kind of the deal there. Now, when we've a couple of years ago, before CBD wasn't such a craze, when we talked about full spectrum THC, we typically were talking about the terpenes, like a full spectrum on the terpenes. Okay. And I think that still is a good definition, but I think, I think that a lot of people have tried to kind of evolve it, because, let's say go back maybe 4 or 5 years ago where CBD wasn't really talked about a lot. We typically would do formulations of THC CBD ratios that would be full spectrum. And we kind of always talked about it when we were doing our formulations as, okay, well, we're actually, having a full spectrum, terpenes.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I think that the definitions have evolved a little bit.
Yeah.
And people talk about it in a different way.
Yeah, because they're pulling in a lot more of the cannabinoids, not just the terpenes.
Right. Yeah.
When they talk about it.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, just be careful of it. I think that just make sure that you have, if you're quoting it out for a customer, if you're a bulk person, make sure that you quote out the right,
what you're doing.
Yeah, because your customer will have a different definition of full spectrum than you do. It's very likely.
Gotcha.
Okay. And that so I think I made my point there. Pros and cons for bulk products. Okay. Crude, distillate, isolate, broad spectrum. Okay. Some of the pros for crude, obviously most like the plant, smells great, smells awesome. If you get a CO2, the crude oil for say, for an ethanol will have like that, a distinct ethanol odor to it.
Okay.
And also it has a full spectrum of terpenes in it. That means it's got the higher boiling terpenes that are also in there, right? It's opaque. It's not smokable. It's less potent, and the terpenes are degrading over time. So you can actually see that occur if you just leave it sit there and do a time lapse. You can see it turn like from a bright yellow to a darker amber.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then the distillate, a lot of people go to distillate because it's clear. It's desirable color. Usually it's that light yellow color. People love that because it takes great pictures when it's not crystallized, of course. So it has to be heated up. And then backlit, yes. Limited terpenes, but has definite plant taste. So if you taste the terpenes, it will have a plant taste, and usually elevated THC levels. That's kind of the cons. So you have to really go to a broad spectrum if you want to get that THC out of there, or you have to have a diluent or some way to dilute it so that it's less than 0.3.
A diluent.
That's what they call it.
A diluent.
You can do that with MCT oil, or you can do that with like a different type of.
I thought that was just another name you called me. You diluent. Sorry.
Isolate, white powder, no terpenes or fats or waxes. Nice for formulations if you don't want that plant taste. So with the isolate, that's where, if you don't want a distinct terpene or don't want a distinct plant taste at all, use the isolate in your formulations, but at least resembles the plant. So it's kind of the most processed that you're going to get. And then the broad spectrum, it has that clear color as long as it's not crystallized, no detectable THC. So that's a pro for that, but it has that definite plant taste. So some people, when they're making, gummies or edibles of any kind, or even smokable products, that those tastes will come into the product. Okay. Sure. So if you, in your formulation, you want to have a nice berry flavor that's clean and clear, a lot of times you won't use like crude or distillate or broad spectrum. Even you'll use some isolate. So that's a nice, clean, clear, fruity taste. If you want to have a hint of marijuana plant or a hint of hemp plant. Then you use a, distillate or isolate maybe together, kind of formulate it together to get the taste and the flavor that you're really looking for. So that's a lot of fun. And that's actually the funnest part of the whole process. And that is, you got all your stuff there, you got all your different types, and you're actually testing things out. You're trying them. They're tasting good. Oh, that didn't taste good. I don't like, that's too much. And you're really making a formula.
Sure.
So, and there's basically an infinite.
We did that in the R&D lab the other day.
Yes, we did. And it was fun. We did what was that? The extraction with Everclear.
We did
Extraction of flour with Everclear, and he drank the whole thing. I was very impressed.
Oh, well.
Yeah, good. We had a good afternoon after that.
Wow. I actually did. I got a lot done. Well, I think I got a lot done that afternoon.
He was just sitting here the whole time like, man.
Wow, I'm getting a lot done.
Basically like that. So let's try some of these.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
This is fun.
All right.
I'm in.
Oh, and we are going to talk about the entourage effect.
Good. We need to.
And we got an illustration because I do have a couple slides on that, but we'll come back to it. Okay. So let's go to we're going to do some trials here.
Whenever we talk about the entourage effect, I really want a disco ball. I don't know why.
Okay. You start off with isolate first.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Isolate.
Yeah.
I can tell that's isolate.
Yeah.
Because that's what it says right there. Isolate.
Okay.
That's how I know.
Okay. Here, do you want to?
I got
put on some gloves.
Yeah. Do I put them on my head?
No.
Oh, sorry. No. You should do that to my kids.
Okay.
Remember that, Elijah? Yeah, there.
Ooh, look at that.
All right.
All right, here. Let's see what we got here. They even got us set up with a little. What's awesome about this is you're going to do all the testing.
Yeah. Is that what's awesome about that?
Yes. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, don't cough into that.
There we go.
I'm tasting that?
You can taste that. Yeah. Taste it. Just a little tiny bit. You don't need a lot.
Just a little bit?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Do I just take it?
Sure. A little tiny bit. Do you have any taste to it?
There's really not taste.
No. Here, I'll taste a little bit.
There's no flavor.
Here,
There's not a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
No flavor, no taste.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Just kind of...
So you can see that if you want to have like a berry flavor or whatever, this is the stuff to
Bring
use.
it.
Yeah, let's bring it on.
So
you can just... Yeah, this is highly insoluble in water, though. So keep that in mind. It will not go into water.
It does not blend because it's not small enough, right?
No, it's not. Yeah, well, that's a part of it, but no, it's just it's very hydrophobic. It's like, yeah, it is not going to go into water. So
it's
you put
afraid
it in
of water. If it's
whatever,
hydrophobic, it's afraid of water.
If you put this into your tea, this will likely stick to the walls on you won't be, or it'll float on the top. It look like scum. So you want to have more like a water soluble thing. We haven't really talked about that, but we can do that later.
Gotcha.
Here. Let's just kind of put it on my piece of paper there. Yeah. Because what are we going to do? This is, let's try this one next. This is broad spectrum.
We're cleaning this out.
You can see it's all crystallized out. We have this, we make this by the liter, obviously. Let's see here. So broad spectrum distillate. This is 1 kilo. All right. Let's try it.
That's a big taste.
Ooh, smells great. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. He's getting the big spoon. Oh my God.
Okay, here it is. Okay. We're going to try this out here. Try that.
Oh, that's got flavor.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here.
That's got flavor.
Well, let's see. It's all crystallized out here.
Yeah, but you can taste the plant. You can taste the terpene. It's soft. The flavor is not sharp.
No,
it's more soft or rounder.
That's beautiful.
And you taste it on the tip of your tongue.
You know what's nice about what I like about broad spectrum is that, as opposed to like a distillate, it doesn't, like, the distillate will stick to your tongue.
Yeah.
And I mean, usually you can taste it in the back of your mouth for a long, long, long time.
Right.
That's why we save that for last.
Right. But this is more on the front of your mouth.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I don't. There's no film.
No.
So I really broad spectrum. I
Nice.
kind of like
Yeah.
that. No THC.
Yeah.
This stuff has a little bit of elevated, obviously, because it's in process. So we're gonna take a little bit of that.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, though, this is gonna be a great time.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Oh man, the stuff gets so hard. Okay, you can see it's definitely darker. See that? Because when it goes through that chromatography process, it basically takes out more of the plant matrix, so you don't,
He's laughing. I don't taste it as much.
Really?
Oh, okay. Then it hit me.
It's in the back of the throat.
Yeah, because the other you taste at the front of your mouth, but this one just went, as I pull it back, it was like, whoo, there it is.
Yeah.
All the way in the, like, just kind of embraced the whole back of your tongue.
Now, if you put this, if you smoke this stuff, typically you want to make sure that you're going to want to put some terpenes back into it, and you're not going to want a lot, though. I mean, you're very, very little. It's only a hint. Otherwise, it'll burn in your nose and things like that. So
You don't want that.
no. I'm going to try a little bit.
You don't want that.
Oh,
Isn't that?
yeah,
It goes to the back.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
See,
It takes a little.
it's just kind of
like a development.
sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
Sneaks up.
Yeah.
That's good.
So there we got some
sorry.
isolate. I don't think we're going to try any crude, but I think that this is fine. This is fine. So that's what. Look, if you ever have a chance to, get some bulk, bulk tastes and just do some taste testing, actually, that's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm thinking is the growing population who's using CBD are boomers.
Yeah.
Really. We're in a $5 billion industry.
Yeah.
And it's growing to like 23, 26 billion. I've heard different numbers.
Says the boomer, obviously.
Over the next 3 years. And I'm a boomer. Okay. But most of the, my father, he's 85. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want to get high. And they're terrified of getting high. Any boomer who's taken CBD, they don't want. I don't want to get high. I don't want to get high. I don't want to get high. And they equate that terpene smell and taste with the potential of get high.
Yes,
They do.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into the entourage effect and talking about that. But you want to open the receptors so that you get that full effect of all of everything.
Yeah.
And that's what's key. So even though it's non-detect at 0.3% THC, there's enough in there to open the receptors so you get that benefit of all of the cannabinoids and terpenes.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, right. So for example, if you're going to formulate like a gummy or something like that, and you don't want it to have any plant taste at all, you'll certainly get the CBD in there.
Yeah, but you want to use
you'll have very low, you'll have limited bioavailability because it's going in, being metabolized in your gut. But it will maintain the clear taste. So a lot of people who want to just, have flavor as being the number one thing, then you definitely use that isolate.
And that's why the biggest growth right now in CBD is the isolate. That's why you're hearing there's a big market for isolate out there because of that growing boomer population who wants it in their product, but they don't want to taste that really cool terpene.
But they're missing the entourage effect.
They're missing it.
Right. Now,
exactly.
Now, if you can take these and you can put, terpenes in there.
Yep.
And that, that's called, typically people call that like a dab, for example, or, some people smoke that. But that gets you the entourage effect plus a pure isolate. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. And that's why if you do.
That's just a formulation.
So broad and full spectrum are just, you want that full effect as often as you can, but many of the big processors putting stuff in all of the big things are using more isolate.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for that mass thing. But
you,
in order to get good formulations and good taste and flavor, you want to use full or broad spectrum. That gives you the better flavor, right?
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
What are you laughing at?
I just like Alexa's comment. Calm down, Mom. This CBD isn't going to get you high or stoned. That's pretty good.
Damn it.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
How many of you out there would like to see your mom high? Oh, everybody behind the scenes raise their hand.
Wow, that's something.
That would be interesting. I think my kids raised their hand.
Did you bring those pre-rolls here for a reason?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There we go.
Pre-roll. Okay, so these are interesting.
Yeah. How so?
Oh, because what you get the full effect, right?
You do.
So you get the full effect, and it's the plant. But when it's light, here's the one thing I learned from you just recently is because of the lighting and igniting it, the burning actually decarboxylates.
Yes. Yeah.
And which I've learned the decarboxylation actually activates the THC, whether it's non-detect or not,
Right.
and the CBD.
Right.
And without the decarb, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah. The absorption rates are quite low, like minuscule.
Yeah. So yeah, worthless.
Yeah. Pretty, well, yeah. And I think that they're just an unknown effect.
There's no bioavailability.
That's what they say.
Yeah. So you need decarb.
Right.
You need an activation lab.
Pretty much.
You need to do that.
Yeah. Some people, like, for example, they'll take the biomass and they'll decarb it and then put those into capsules, the decarb, so that you can take it into your stomach and it will sorb up.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. So, who knew? You want to, and by the way, Hua Chow, we do have a replay. So that's coming up. So you'll have access to the replay.
Sure.
Also, and some people want a copy of your presentation, and I don't know that we have that available, but we will have the replay out.
Yeah.
So
you guys can take a look at it. Let's go talk a little bit about the entourage effect, because I want to get into our beer tasting session.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Okay.
What the heck are we waiting for?
All right. Okay. So here's the pros and cons for the bulk products. Okay, I'm gonna take that.
You just have to say, "Hey, Randy, shut up."
I will.
We're moving.
Literally,
on.
I made this 5 minutes before.
He really did.
I really did. So I'm gonna probably evolve it a little bit and see if I can come up with something a little bit more.
That's power.
More power, yeah.
No. I mean, that is power. He can evolve it.
Look at that. Formulations. Doesn't that look like a great collage?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
PowerPoint did that for me automatically.
Really?
Yeah, I just threw the pictures in there and I pushed the button and said, yeah, it gave me this. Oh, isn't that great?
That's power.
Yeah.
That is your power.
Okay, so what is the entourage effect? Thank you for correcting my spelling, James. Here we go. So here we go. This is some of the beautiful ground material. It smells wonderful. Okay. And what we want to do is
thank you for not letting me taste that.
Basically take this into, well, let's back up. I think we should open up one of those. No. Open up one of those pre-rolls. Hey, we do a taste test on that. Okay. No, that would derail us.
We got jars of flour back here.
You guys have seen this. This picture was also taken by James because he's so great a photographer. And yes, that is snow that he has that in.
And it looks like it's on the mountain. And actually, he said he took it right in our parking lot.
Yeah. He just mounted up a little snow on there. It's pretty good. But you can see the different colors. That's from different strains. Okay. And they do taste different. They have different, different terpenes that are, dominant in there. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some pharmacodynamics.
Pharmacodynamics.
You did it.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Okay.
So this is what your body does with the CBD. For example, there are two CBD receptors. There's CB1 and the CB2. And this is very well known. You guys can take a look. In fact, there is a World Health Organization report that is actually quite nice because it summarizes all the data and the use and the adverse effects and everything is in there. It's really good. Nice summary. You can get it online. I would recommend that if you want to learn more about, how the CBD actually acts in your body, go download that. It's free and just type in WHO CBD report. You'll be able to get it. But there's some different things. CBD does not appear to act directly with the CB1 receptors. So it is a kind of it's thought of it to be an agonist, for example. Neuroimaging studies in humans and animals have shown that CBD has effects which are generally opposite those of THC. So, it has a different set of effects. Okay, some studies have shown that CBD may reduce or agonize some of the effects of THC, and the mechanism is unclear. A lot of people are looking for how does this actually work in your
laughing.
body.
You said agonize, and I like that.
Stop it.
That would be agonizing. But the word you have on the screen is antagonize, and I think that was antagonizing.
Agonize, antagonize.
I think
yeah.
actually we do antagonize one another
In a good way.
in a good way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we can agonize.
Well, that would mean we're synergistic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Is that like a CB1 and CB2 receptor?
Okay, so the CBD goes in there. There's some receptors. It's not interacting with those receptors. Okay.
So CB1 is more neuro, CB2 is more gastrointestinal.
And
yes, that's what I kind of read.
It still has some unknown effect within that endocannabinoid system. Here, it's been shown to modulate several non-endocannabinoid signaling
why
systems.
didn't I think of that?
Yes. So here they are: adenosine uptake. There's enhanced activity at this receptor. Okay, so these are all, and then the blockade of the orphan G protein coupled receptor GPR55. That's actually pretty important. So if anybody has taken a DNA test to show,
23andMe, baby.
Yeah, exactly. To show, hey, look, here's how CBD might affect you.
Yeah.
For example, they're going to be looking for markers that have these types of proteins or these receptors in there, and they're going to say, okay, it's likely that you're going to have a greater effect, for this. So that they're taking the mechanism of how it's working in your body. They're looking at the proteins that your body is making, and then the DNA will say, okay, here you have this. You're making this protein, and it's probably going to have this effect on you. So there's actually there's some DNA tests out there. I took one. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Do you have history?
Yeah. It's I can't remember what it said. It said that it will make you fall asleep immediately.
There you go.
Stop it. Don't do that.
That's awesome. Hey, by the way, Richard just said that there are recent research saying that the terpenes connect the CBD to CB2.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that is cool.
That is cool.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there. So let me kind of skip down here, because why am I talking to you about this? I'm talking to you about this because the CBD, they're trying to figure out how it interacts. Richard has pointed out that, hey, look, we have, we're looking at it, and apparently, it's interacting with the CB2 receptor. But then there's all this other stuff, like all of the different terpenes. There's the flavonoids. There's the other plant materials. There's literally thousands of compounds that are in there, and there's what's known as an entourage effect.
And don't forget the tetrahydrocannabinol.
Yeah, well, that too. That is called an entourage effect.
I read that.
It's
THC.
That will definitely give you an entourage effect. But yeah, so all of those compounds are acting, and the reason we call it the entourage effect is because we don't really know what it is. Because in order to really understand, you'd have to isolate it, take it in isolation, and then have a certain thing targeted indication that you're targeting for that. So actually, if you have thousands of compounds, you take it. That's why, and it looks like it's doing something. You don't really know what it is that's acting on it. Is it the CBD? Yep. Is it the combination of CBD plus all of the other compounds? It's just really hard to know.
Sure.
So that's the main thing. So that's what they call the entourage's effect. This is basically scientists haven't figured it out yet, so they give it a cool name.
And it is a cool name.
Yeah.
Disco ball, baby. And Alexis has a good point as well that we'll come back to on the absorption of this with water solubility.
Oh, right.
But before I jump there, I want to talk just briefly about the fact that when earlier there was a comment, and I'm not finding it at the moment, and that is that there's a isolate that full and broad spectrum are better for you than isolate. And I don't think it's a matter of better for you. It's that you have an entourage effect in both full and broad, an entourage effect. Other than broad has no THC, so you're missing, or non-detect THC, so you're missing that element.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's really proper to even say, like, for example, if you don't have the entourage effect, that it's not helpful for you.
Right.
Because
not as helpful.
Right.
Because there's a lot of research saying that the entourage effect does have good effect.
Yeah.
Better effect.
But it's an unknown, because it's unknown, and it's always changing, and you don't really know what compounds are in there.
Okay, so
you don't have an indication, so you don't really know. So it's just kind of like, oh, everybody's.
It's
like,
just different.
It's just different.
It's just different.
I wouldn't say it's better. I'd say it's just different. Right.
Okay.
Right. So
fine.
I think it's
fine. We'll go with your answer.
Okay. All right. All right. Let me see here. So,
and I want to just mention. Okay, I know you're going on, but there's a lot of talk out there about water solubility, which is a pipe dream. Because you said it's water phobic.
Well, okay,
hydrophobic.
No. So there's a couple different ways to do that.
Okay.
Either you put it together with a surfactant, and then you drink it, and it will make it water soluble.
Right.
Or you can reduce the particle size to the point where it is small, and it suspends in the water.
Okay.
So those are two different ways to do that. There's also self-emulsifying systems. So if you put it with a surfactant, that's an emulsifier. And typically you need one or two different, you got oil and water immersions or emulsifiers.
Sounds like
things like that.
A future show.
Yeah, it does. We should do a whole show on that. That'd be a lot of fun.
I agree. And I guess the point is that water solubility has it's a new burgeoning idea. And the reason, I think Alexis made the comment that it's the best way to absorb it, because it's the micron levels of those are so small that it could be more
they go in
bioavailable.
there. Yeah, they could be more bioavailable.
But
there's also liposomes. That's what was going through my mind.
Of course.
So you can take that, and you supposedly you have bioavailability that's pretty high. We've seen a lot of enhanced bioavailability also with like a sugar mixture. So things along those lines.
Interesting.
We'll do it. So
okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get away from
no problem.
This is a pretty graph.
It is.
I have to say, this is probably one of your prettiest graphs.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't make it. That's why. Okay, so terpenes and cannabinoids work together synergistically to produce a therapeutic effect. You can see that these other different different terpenes here have their own therapeutic effects, like anti-inflammatory, anesthetic, analgesic, sedative effect. Okay, acid reflux here, anti-anxiety, limonene. Okay, these are shown to basically produce those other effects. So when you add that with the CBD, that's what's called the entourage effect.
Gotcha.
Okay, so
you're adding to the already entourage effect inside.
Right.
Okay.
So here you go. You have it. I mean, main findings. So these are basically a summary of all the different, main terpenes that you would find in the plant, and then along with what the main findings are. Now, these right here are not clinical studies. Just to let you guys know, they're one-off papers. They're combination. They're just a compilation of non-controlled studies.
And what that means for you out there is there's opportunity to do the studies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go run like the wind, buttercups.
Right. So like, for example, if, some people, they'll separate out a D-limonene, or they'll separate out linalool, and then they'll check it, as a different way.
Every time you say linalool, I think you drink too much. Linalool.
Terpenol. Terpene.
I don't know. It's just the linalool.
So here's another set. This neurolidal. Neurolidal. Yeah.
That's what
I love how this smells. That's like a new car smell.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It smells really good.
If you like that kind of thing.
Oh, it doesn't taste good at all though.
No.
It's not. I tried a little bit of it. Like, oh my gosh, this is really bad.
It doesn't taste as good
No,
as it
but
smells.
it smells great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want that new car smell tincture,
Yeah.
I mean, that's your terpene right
That's
there.
your terp. It'll taste like shit, but it smells great.
Yes. Oh, got that new car smell. Okay. So,
I apologize.
I have my own little illustration for, the entourage effect.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Okay, here it is right here. I got it right here. So here we go.
Okay.
Now, the deal with this is this is an IPA. This has got lots of terpenes in it. And I don't know if you have more than 1 pint of IPA, you kind of maybe puts you to sleep. You're like feeling a little tired.
Really?
You're definitely feeling, definitely. If you have like a light beer, does not have, any terpenes, any hop, it's got some hot flavor, but very little hop flavor, cool, crisp, clean taste, like Coors Light, for example. Nice can. That's a giant can there. So, we're going to sample this now.
Woo.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the one without the entourage effect. And you can have a lot more of this than you can the IPA, super hoppy.
Speak for yourself.
No.
That sounds like a challenge.
Otherwise you're going to definitely fall asleep. So here's our
Well, is that why they say there's a pork
opener.
chop in every bottle?
Yeah, and then we got a can here. All right. And here, I got us some taste testing glasses.
Okay. So
I can only find Scotch glasses, so sorry, we're gonna have that.
these are really bourbon glasses.
Okay. There's Scotch
They're
glasses.
bourbon glasses.
You know how I know? Look right here. See that?
Yeah, I see it.
It's the Glencairn.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, these are Scotch glasses. I apologize.
Hey, the timer is on there.
Yeah, I hear the timer.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna try this. I'm gonna try this.
Okay.
And that. Okay, there you go.
Oh, here's what we're doing. Whoa.
Yeah. All right.
What, that's a weak pour, man.
Wow. It is.
Okay.
So this
Okay, so we're
brew
doing
here has
this
a
is
lot
the
of,
IPA.
Yeah, this has a lot of terpenes in it.
It's
I don't
nice
know
and
exactly
thick.
what the terpene content is, but if you smell it, you can smell the terpene.
Oh, yeah.
It smells great.
Oh, it smells so awesome. It's an IPA. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Mhm.
Salute.
Mhm.
Sante. Cheers.
That's not unlike our distillate taste. Kind of tastes like distillate, only liquid.
Yeah. Well, yes. It does. Okay, so now the IPA does grab the back of your tongue
Definitely
again,
grab. Yeah.
just like the other.
Okay.
Drink the rest of that
Okay.
later. Okay, so now
Now we're on to
the
water.
light.
Yes, here we are.
Water.
Here we go.
Sante.
Cheers. Yeah. Yeah.
And so now it's not smoky, it's clear.
Oh, that's nice and crystal clear. There's no like aftertaste. It doesn't linger.
And just like the differences, you taste this more at the front of your tongue.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Okay.
Okay. So again, you have beer, which is like an IPA. It's got lots of terpenes in there. When I drink IPA, like a lot of it, it definitely makes me sleepy.
Does it?
Yeah. Whereas if I drink like a light beer, it's like it has no effect at all.
Wow.
So maybe that's for you. Is that not for you?
I'm a bourbon guy,
Oh, okay.
but I'll drink whatever.
Okay.
Apparently.
We're gonna test this out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. it's gonna. Yes, that's
Hey,
right.
Kyle's coming in at 4.
Okay. All right. So
We'll try this out again, Kyle.
yeah. So that's kind of the difference. So they both have similar alcohol content,
And by the way,
but there's a lot of terpenes. in this
Renato
one.
agrees with me that these are bourbon glasses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Scotch people just stole them.
No,
right?
no.
Renato?
Look, it says the Glencairn. That is definitely.
I
not.
understand. So it has to be Scotch glasses. I get it. Okay.
All right.
What are we doing?
I think that's it.
What?
Yeah, that's it.
Come on. This is too fun.
Well, here you go. You want to try some more?
Of course I do.
All right.
You have some more as well.
Wait,
All
it's
right.
too bad we don't have all of our guests with us. That would be fun.
I know. Well, they can have some.
Cheers.
Hey, salud. Sante. Okay. And that report that you were doing was the WHO CBD report?
Yeah, WHO. Yeah.
WHO, World
Yeah.
Health Organization.
I think it was done by a couple professors down in University of Kentucky.
So PhDs,
Yeah, I think so.
they can
or maybe
pile it
professors.
higher and deeper, baby.
Professors, not PhDs.
Oh, professors.
Yeah, here's the PhD
Okay.
and here's a professor. Professor's above.
Above.
Yes.
Just you're a PhD.
Yeah, exactly. You have to,
You have to get there.
yeah, you have to get there. I couldn't do it.
Okay, so who can drink more IPA?
You definitely can, because I'll fall asleep.
Well, I was really asking about a PhD or a professor.
Professors usually they go to bourbon or scotch. I don't know. It must have something to do with it. They don't have enough bang for the buck with the beer. So
okay, you are well. We don't need coffee yet, Alexis. Not yet. We're doing this is fun.
All right.
Okay, and thank you for being here. Thank you for all the questions. And again, earlier, April told me 263.
Yeah.
And this is available for replay. Be here. Richard says IPA has humulene.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, that's it. That's probably why I'm sleeping.
And if you drink more of it, it's humorline. Or at
Also
least we
fun.
think it's humor.
See, there's something promise in cancer treatment. Sweet.
Really?
Richard's up on his stuff there.
I know. Dude,
I'm gonna have to get on the phone with you and
he's more
kind of
professorial.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Way to go, dude. All right. And I just called a professor dude.
Not cool. That's
cool.
irreverent.
That's irreverent.
Yes.
Sorry, dude.
That's what the professors usually said
Thank
to
you
me.
for being here. This is good. Remember, we've got the calculators. Talk to our bot, and we still have to name the bot. I have to see what it looks like now. We got to show
It's
that.
boring now.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't look like a.
Why?
Like a bot. I don't know. We
It's
gotta
cool.
change it.
We got to change it, and because he's really cool. Actually, I think he's always high. But he knows his stuff.
He does.
He's very focused, a focused high. Okay. Live tour, calculators, CBD jam sessions, extraction guides, distillate guides, mini courses are coming. We covered everything on the list.
One other thing.
What? What?
We did this last week. We did a bunch of product tours.
Oh.
So those should be up on our website here by the end of the week. So if you want to take a look at, our product tours.
A lot of you have been asking for that because as we're going through and talking about evaporation, we've been talking about distillation, we've been talking about wipe film, falling film, all of that. And this is real life stuff.
Right. Yeah. So basically what it has is it's a picture of our equipment, and then you can hover over all the different pieces and you can see, okay, here's what it does and things like that. So people will like it.
All right. Thank you for being here. Engage with the bot, engage on our site. YouTube channel has a lot of resources. extractlab.com. extractlab.com has a lot of resources on it. Blog, calculators, get to our YouTube channel, like us, subscribe. Our podcasts, go there. This is all on podcasts.
Yeah, it is.
And we've got it available on video and audio. We did go a little long. It's a little 11 minutes over.
Sorry about that.
But boy, was it fun. I loved it. So thank you again. And give us ideas of what you want to hear about. I like that. That helps us a lot. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff coming through. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We're good. Great show.
All right,
man.
Take
this
care.
was fun. I'm drinking more. All right. Thanks for being here. See you next time.
Bye now.
Hot mic.